button to navigate. So I'm going to quickly, literally 2 seconds, show how you move around. Once you have an object selected, you can scroll in and out to zoom into it. If you want to pan around the scene, you hold the shift button and then you use the middle mouse button in conjunction with that to move around. And if you want to rotate, you just hold the middle mouse button and move about. So when you add a third axis, we're all used to working in 2D or Photoshop or whatever, but when you add a third axis, that's when things get a bit different. So definitely get a mouse, that's the one thing I would advocate for. And now we've got that out of the way, let's start making something over here. So in this particular example, we're going to keep the cube, so just hit H, and that's going to hide it. We're going to use it later. It's still up here, but it's just hidden, if you can see that now. So in 3D modeling, a key principle is abstraction. You don't look at this as a set of headphones, you look at it as we've got some cylinders over here, we've got a cube that is kind of elongated over here. So you literally find yourself walking around thinking, how can I model that tree? That's a cylinder and then a bunch of planes for the leaves. Like you literally look around, you see the world in a different way. I'm going to stop talking now, let's start building. So the building blocks of objects are measures. So if you hit Shift A, you bring up this menu here, and mesh, we're going to insert a cylinder. I'm leaning apparently. So we've got a cylinder, we're not going to change any properties out here to a different way, that's good to me. We're going to now stretch our cylinder this way. These different tools let you manipulate the meshes different ways. So we're going to scale it, and we're going to use this view axis over here, so just drag that up to however much you like. That's alright. I've got to draw it down for that, and obviously a cylinder, the vacuum doesn't look this jagged, so we're going to start making it smooth. The first thing we're going to do is shape by ranking the objects in the shape smooth. That's the way it goes, so we're just going to keep it shaped. Now we're going to use the modify over here, we're going to use the cycle surface modifier. We're going to use the camera mark principle to figure out the best way to smooth our shape. And if you increase the viewport up here, it looks really smooth, but it's nothing like a cylinder. So the way to negate that is if we turn that off. We can add some root cuts around it to tell it where we want it to smooth out up to a certain point. So add root cuts, we're going to enter edit mode by hitting tab on our keyboard over here. And edit mode is going to get a lot more options because we're editing the individual object in isolation. So if you hit Control R and hover over your shape, you should get, if you move it around, you get different options. But we want this round option here. Click it once and you can move it about. We're going to add a root cut at the top. And we're going to add a root cut at the bottom. And I'll show you what that does. If you turn the modifier back on, you'll notice that it's kept the shape, and that's because the root cuts indicate where you kind of want the modifiers to have less of an effect or more of an effect. So it's similar to nothing like what we're going to go for. So we're going to add a couple more root cuts. If you hold Alt and select that bottom edge, we're going to press E and then S to scale it down. And then we're going to actually move, we're going to press ES again, make it small, and bring that up. Now in Blender, if you want to bring things up by a small amount when you're dragging, what you can do is you can hold shift while you're doing this action. When you hold shift, you'll notice it just goes in tiny increments, so you have more control over what you're doing. But we're going to make this inset. Press ES again, and now we've got the inside of the bowl. So we'll hit the button and select this to get our top face. ES to bring it in small. We're going to press ES again just to bring it in a tiny bit, and then E to bring that up, and ES again to flatten that out. We actually want it to be a bit more curved, so we can go in and edit our shapes a bit more again. Then we're going to actually select, I'm going to put your time modifier off, holding Alt and Shift, select that ring, and that ring, and scale it down a bit. Time modifier back on, and we can see that we're getting a bit more of a rounded effect. Press S again to scale it. I want this edge to be quite like rounded. And we're going to hold on this edge, scale that down. There we go. Now we're going to get like a bowl kind of look. We'll put the lid on and see what we want to do. We're going to add another mess. We're going to add a mess, because my modeling skills are a mess, and I'm probably going to bump out to 5. Depending on how much of a computer can do. So yeah, hit Shift A again, and we're going to add another mesh and add a cylinder this time. And again, we're going to add that same modifier with last time, drag that up a little bit. So increase that a bit, turn that on. I need to scale it down to be honest. In that. And scales down to the width and size. So we're going to use the orthographic mode, which shows you the sidebar mode of objects. So just now I hit one on my numpad, but not everybody has a numpad on their keyboard. So if you do not have a numpad on your keyboard, the emulator go into edit, preferences, input, and then hit this emulate numpad. I don't really tell that number. So I'm not going to put it down. So if you want to go slightly new, I think it's like a copy. Anyway, so he wants this to be a bit smaller on the side. I have no idea what my keyboard is going to look like. That's cool. That's kind of a little bit. Yeah. I'm going to do a little bit. Let's make the middle difficult. So just to go up that anyway, turn that off. And select all the different options again. Make it slightly bigger. And hit the last two. And move it up a bit. That's even a bit more. Yeah, that was cool. Actually, yeah. Anyway, turn that on by the one so it's always has the new cards, go back into that. Okay, so what we're coming on, we're going to do this out with in tab, we're going to ES again, extrude and scale that. Just this top one, so ES, scale out, and that will sort of give you a similar top. And do the same for bottom actually. This last one, ES, there we go. Okay, for now, I'm going to make that link. That's just literally some very, very basic modeling, and it looks pretty boring right now, but I think this is going to start coming together soon. So one more thing we're going to add is a label on the front. So we're going to do shift A, add another cylinder, last cylinder. I'm going to scale it down a tiny bit. So I'm going to add a cylinder, I'm going to go to edit mode and hit the face right here. Select that top face, delete it. Select that bottom face, delete that face. So we've just got like a label kind of shape coming on here. Subject mode, shape mode, so I'm going to add a modifier to this, so I'm going to shrimp back modifier. good. I'm going to this as a target and then offset to just kind of piece out the bottom. In time I'm going to also just bring that edge off. And then we come in and scale up. Oh, slowly scale that out a bit. Okay, so this is our final modelled item object. Again, this is just very normal modelling. I just didn't want to go too overboard. I hope this is what I'm with. And the next step we're going to go into is so hold down T and then moving up to 100. And then it's going to get it's just very clean. Nothing much is going on. I'm just trying to decide what render engine I want to use. There's this one here and render properties. We've got two different renders we can use. Let's first add a background to our animation. So up here, just drag and look at the four corners, type of new window. And up here, we're going to go to shape button. Change the object world, and you should use those to tick on. And to add a black background, we're going to go on and add a bunch of nodes here. So first, hold Shift key to click that background node. We're going to add another node, Shift A, and then it's going to be a environment texture. And then we're going to put that into the background node. And another node called light texture. And another node is the shader. So Shift A, mix shader, drag it on top of this line that's existing there, bring your background into shader, and then click and bring it into background. And then you can change the colour to everyone's background. And then you might be wondering, what's this thing for? Why are things only pink? So we're going to hit open and we're going to use HDRI. I have a folder for them. So HDRI is basically images that sit in the background of your scene, which give your objects, data on lighting and reflections of objects have to be shiny. So essentially they just make renders super good. And if you want to get HDRI, you can just HDRI them and just have loads and loads and loads. It's a different kind of like, looks super something and then you have like other ones, or like, indoor ones. You can download them at any different, and it's something because you might not know, but yeah, you get different file sizes. And it's just really good, so go ahead and pick HDRI and go in. I do link in the description HDRI. So now it's gone back to being white, and you kind of don't see what is going on here. And I'll show you now. I'm going to add a material by going into this material tab in here. And if you change this palette value up a bit, you can see that it's starting to look a bit different. If you bring your mouse all the way down to 0, you can see start to get some reflections. And these reflections are caused by the HDRI lectures. This is the good one. Yeah, so there you go. I'm probably going to use. I'm going to go for another and then it doesn't need to be something that was just to show an example. So now we're going to cover materials and UVs. So for this project, we're going to use EV, I've decided. I'm going to call this material glass. Now there are a few ways to get glass to look somewhat believable in UV, but again, this is just a stylized render. So the first thing is go to transition and turn that all the way up to 1. But you'll notice it's not really transmitting much light, it's kind of just still reflecting it. So we're quickly to go into some settings here. Go into your render settings and click yes to ambient, bloom, and screen space. On the screen space, tick refraction, and then go back to materials and under sorry, refraction depth. Click on screen space refraction, and then we're going to keep it quite low. That's the best way we can get glass, living glass, in an EV. That kind of shows what is behind it a little bit, kind of. So let's go ahead and start adding materials to the rest of it. Another thing that we did click on in our render settings was bloom. If you reduce the threshold, you'll notice that your object is glowing and it looks really cute. Just play around with these settings until you get a glow that you like. You can make the glow very contained by reducing the radius, which I think looks quite cool actually. So we're going to add a material to this lid. I don't even know what it is. So it's a shiny kind of metal. So we're going to go into materials here. I'm going to add a new material over here. Keep the base as white, and I'll bring the metallic all the way up. Roughness kind of down so it's kind of looking a little bit rough, not too shiny. Offset the really shiny glass. I need some more. Oh, it look really old. No, I don't know. Yeah. But if we change this world up here to objects, you can go ahead and kind of use some nodes to make this tiny bit more interesting. I'm actually going to leave the lid as is, don't mind like that. I'm going to add a bit of like a blotchy effect to the glass if somebody's like held it in their hand. So with this node setup that we've got here, I'm going to hit Shift A and I'm going to add a colour now. Start the American way. I'm going to add colour into roughness. And we're going to add a mouse grain texture. And hit height into factor. I'm going to add a mapping node. Vector into vector. And I'm going to add a what's she called? Texture. And an object into vector. So now I don't know if you can see that kind of like smudge zone. I kind of like it as it is. I might make it a tiny bit bigger if it lets me now. I might just fiddle with this a little bit more. It's the harsher it is the closer you bring these two together. But I kind of liked it not being too harsh to the entire spectrum. And that way we've got a little bit of surface imperfection. You should really have a clean vaccine bottle, I think, but because it's the imaginary layer, okay, we can do whatever we want. So yeah, play around with these settings until you get something that you like. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at UVs. Now I'll try and explain UVs as simply as I possibly can. We're going to change this window up here to UV editor. And in edit mode, we're going to select everything by hitting A. And we're going to mark out our scene. So essentially UVs are when you take an object, unwrap it, and then create a material separately in Photoshop or something like that, and apply it perfectly onto the UV map which projects the picture you made onto the object. I hope that makes sense, but you're going to see it in action now. So we're going to quickly mark out our scenes by hitting face select. I'm going to just hit any one of these lines up here. Can't really see it because I've got the subject as well. I've done that quickly. So select any one of these, go on edge select, and right click it, and hit mark scene. But we're going to mark scene at the top so you can alt and move that, and then mark scene. Alt and mark that, and mark that scene as well. Essentially says the way you cut it, and I'll show you what I mean. Now when you hit A to select all these faces, press U, then hit unwrap. We now have our UV map projection. So essentially, if I go to Photoshop and design something that would fit within this bar, that would then show up my object. So what we can do now is export this UV layout. So we go to UV, export UV layout, call it enable, and we're going to save that to there. So now if I go to Photoshop, and I open up a new project. If I open that picture, there we are. Now I have exactly the blueprint of what I've designed. This is probably the simplest UV I've ever encountered. They get quite complicated after this, but I just want to give you guys sort of an introduction to lots of different elements of UV. I'm going to quickly make a label for my, let's see. So I think I'm going to label, if you don't want to make one, that's fine. I'm going to put my label description in mine, but I would definitely suggest you going into yourself. Okay, let's get the label back in here. So we're going to first go back to the shape editor, and in object mode, select our label, add my material, and we're going to hit Shift A and hit image texture, and drag that into base color, and we're going to open up the picture that we label made. Now it's upside down at the moment, so we're going to go back to UV editor, hit tab, hit A, and so now you can see our label in here, but because it's upside down, just hit A, select all the vertices, hit R, and as you're rotating it with your mouse, hold the shift button to snap it, sorry, control to snap it, contaminate it. Now we got our label, and it's like my own, and the wax was. And yeah, that's what it's like now. But we want to add some, we want to use up the label a little bit flat. So let's go to shape editor again, bring the roughness down to make the label quite like shiny. We're going to bring the tiny bit up, and we're also going to add the bottom node, add normal to normal, and we're going to add the and then my kind of type. That's going to make it look a bit crinkly, but this is clearly too crinkly. Like I would not trust that being injected into my body. I would trust this fact that being injected either way. But let's just bring the scale down a bit to somewhat viewable crinkliness, but obviously we're just doing this to make it look nice, so we just play around with that, and I encourage you to not copy every value that you just play around with what you've got, because ultimately when you are making a it's never going to be complete at this time. So I think that's really quite cool, and now if you saw my time window confidence, I'm going to do like a shrink wrap kind of situation going on here. The first thing I want to do quickly is we want to pair everything to one specific object, so that everything follows from this photo now. We go to move our model, and it's not moving together. So I'm going to select these two label and lid, and then select a little glass. So notice that this is highlighted like light orange in reality, because that's a back object. And then hit Control key, and then click object. So now if we move the lid moves on its own, the label moves on its own. But if we move the bottle does not move on its own, it brings the rest of the objects with it. That's all vaccine sorted. Okay, so let's move on to physics. And then I'm going to say, when you can have me, your hands shriveled, look just like that. All of those things are true, but we're just going to pass it, okay? Let's do this. I'm going to keep room on the same day. Last question. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to UK as I know on this video. So physics. Let's turn our water on its side. So we can animate the shrink wrap thingy, which is the last part of this scene I haven't yet. So let's turn the water on its side. I'm taking our X 90. R stands for rotate, X stands for the X axis, and 90 stands for 90 degrees clockwise. So selecting the bottle, we're just going to rotate it a little bit. So we'll interact with in front. Okay. So remember that cube that we hit at the beginning of the tutorial, we're going to bring it back by hitting top page. And that is the cube that's essentially what the mesh that we're going to shrink back over around. So the first thing we need to do for the API is select all these individual components of the bottle and make them divisible. Select the name, for instance, hit collision under the still on physics thingy, and that's it automatically. Then you hit the bottle, still on physics collision, and then same for your lid. So now that means any physics that interact with these objects are going to either get along or just through, which is easy. I have to find games and we get some errors. So I scale up my square by hitting the S button, and if you hold the Z button and go wireframe, you can see what's going on a lot better. So back into edit mode, I just hit the tab button and we're going to right click and subline, and we're going to go to, I think 40 subdivisions is the one. That looks good. And hit tab, and now we're out of it. What we're going to do next is go to your Z, go to solid mode, and hit tab again. So the keyboard faces you want to kind of keep it suspended in there, so it doesn't move when we're doing the animation. And actually go back into wireframe, and hit one when I'm actually inside of you, and holding out. I'm going to alt out, but I don't have to say, probably alt, holding alt, select, select the, you might get a vertical one, which is fine, just keep selecting until you get the horizontal one. Get the one that's in the middle, close to the middle of the circle, possible. And then go down into vertical groups, create a new group, and go in the middle. And then go to hit assign. And so go back into solid mode, and then make sure that you've got assigned, click the image just like you selected, and hit select. And just copy and make sure that only that row is coming up, and that's how you know that you assigned that first group. Now we're going to some difficulties. Before you jump into this, just be ready for it, not to work. Be ready for the P6 to load. If that's the case, just skip this part. You can, I'll leave a file of mine finished physics in. If you really computer you behind it. If you're not on it, then that's fine. Just quickly do these physics bits and bobs now. Key thing, this is definitely the future key thing. Save your project before you try any simulations. Just do it. I've got to do it. I've got to do it. That doesn't mean that you need to. Because I know you are, I'm this work now. So you have to go to mode.
Hello, baby.
We're going to go to physics properties, this one, sorry. We're going to hit cloth. We're going to change, we'll leave the quality at 5. What else can we change here? Keep going down. It's going to go to frame 0 and hit 0 here. And it's going to take us to 0. We're going to hit pressure and click that and change the pressure, and don't change this at all, but we're going to insert keyframe by right clicking and clicking insert keyframe. Then over here we're going to go to frame 30. Might take a second. Ignore what's going on in your viewport over here, literally it's not accurate just yet. We're going to change this pressure to minus 160. And do these steps quite slowly because your computer's kind of like trying to compute it right now. And then add another keyframe by right clicking and insert keyframe, or you can just hover over that box and hit the I button. Okay, so we're going to keep going down here. We're going to change this from 0 to 30 with cache. The pin group, we're going to select middle, that's the one that we made earlier. Keep going down. We're going to change this quality steps to 5. Self collisions, we're going to tick that on and change the, no, that's fine. And then bring gravity all the way down to 0. So now when we play this animation from frame 0, your computer might get a little bit funky, but try and press the spacebar and see what happens, and it should collapse. Or it might not respond. Key thing, this is Steph from the future. What? No, So you might get... Sorry, Ben's crashed for me. I'm just going to basically redo the whole process quickly. I'm going to stop screen recording. Maybe that'll help. So I turned off the screen record just so I could get the cache up. I changed the pressure to 140, and this is what I've got. So do not fear, I'll explain more about what's going on here. But down here, basically this purple line shows that the animation has, cached. It's saved to the cache. So move along it to somewhere where it looks quite nice, something like this. Another thing you can do is if you hold down Z and go into rendered, make sure that none of the bottles are showing through as well. But back into solid, I'm just going to pick a frame of the animation that looks quite nice. Just let it do its thing. Let it render out the cache. Just don't touch your computer in the meantime. If you can't manage to do this part, I'm going to be dropping the entire blend file on Patreon, so you guys can take out what assets you like and play around with the settings and just mess around with basically what I've done. So if you are still sticking with me, I quite like this frame, and I'm quickly going to go into render and just double check that there's no collision. There's nothing. I can't see the vaccine bottle right now. So we're going to go back into solid. We're going to go to object and convert to mesh, and then we're going to delete these keyframes here. Anything here? Delete keyframes. Awesome. So now we have this object, and we're going to add a modifier. We're going to add a subdivision surface. Now it's looking scrumptious, very delicious. that was a disgusting sound. So you can bring up the viewport. I've hit 2 purely because if you're going to rendered, the animation at the end is going to be kind of like far away, so it doesn't really have to be that close to it. Yeah, I think I like that. Like that. So I think 2 is enough in terms of viewport. Another thing we're going to add is just go back in solid view. One tiny last bit of modeling. We're going to do literally the last bit of modeling, I promise. So we're going to add another cube, bring that along here, hit 7, and hit S to scale, X for the X-axis, and drag your mouse until it's like the same size as this thing here. Just SX scale it, and hold Shift if you want to, do it nice and precise. And then hit 3 on your numpads, then hit S, Z, and that will scale it on the other side. And we're going to bring it down to something like that. Yeah, perfect. We're going to add a UV sphere. We're going to duplicate it with Shift D. So we're going to hit Z and go into wireframe, hit tab, hit 7, and we're going to select half of our sphere, drag it along and make kind of like a pill shape. Hit tab again, go to solid mode, and bring this circle along over here. And so if you can see, we're building that thingy, the hangy thing. So we're going to join these together by selecting them both and hitting Control J. I've got a control to join. Now we have a joined shape. Hit S to scale it down, hit 7 again, and basically 7 again, and basically scale it to the dimensions that you like. We're going to cut this shape out of the rectangle by picking the rectangle, going to modifiers, and adding a boolean modifier. With our eyedropper, we can select the sphere shapes. It might disappear, that's fine, just click self. And then you'll see that nothing's happened, well, it appears that nothing's happened. Select these circular shapes, go to object properties, go all the way to the bottom, and in viewport display, hit wire. And now you'll see that it's basically cut that shape out. And yeah, that's basically all the modeling done. We're going to go to this rectangle in the modifiers panel, apply that. Perfect. We're going to delete that shape now. And that's the modeling done. Let's go into materials again. So we're going to hit Z, go to render view. And so everything's white and we can't see through to the vaccine bottle. So click your shrink wrap, go to materials, new material, just click this little circle and go to glass. The same material we basically made for the bottle. And now we've got clear
We've got some clear plastic and we can see our vaccine inside. And this white, we're going to create a new material. I don't think I'm really going to do too much with that. I feel like I'm just going to make it quite metallic, bring the roughness down a bit. I don't really want to play with it too much. I think I'm going to make it Musgravy, like before, just going to add a bug texture. And screen. It just adds a little bit of natural texture to these things, bring the scale down a bit. So that's kind of really it for modelling. We're going to parent everything to this big plastic thingy so you can then manipulate it. So we're going to go into wireframe, select the bottle, select the handle, and then select the wrapper for last, and then Control P, object, click object. And then in render view, if you move the wrapper 3 seconds later, you then move everything. Okay, so hopefully I have not fried your computer in the process of making this. I quickly want to do a tiny little word on render engine.
Welcome back, Art Invaders. And maybe you saw it already on social media, the Nokia cell phone hype. In today's tutorial, we create a Nokia cell phone from scratch, we will apply realistic materials, and we explore advanced animation techniques. We melt the Nokia cell phone in front of your eyes, and we also apply animations to the display of the phone.
And what's your biggest wish? How to do it? Now you will know it.
Let's get started.
The 3D object.
Find the code in the video and get project files. Be quick, Art Invaders. The files are only freely available for 24 hours after the video release. Alright, let's start with the tutorial. First, we delete the light, the cube, and the camera with the XE. The next step, we use the axis cross and press Y and insert an image of the Nokia phone. You can find the image on my Patreon, the link is in the caption. The next step, we open the transform window and we zero the image out. And let's create the Nokia phone as quickly as possible. First, we add the cube, and we rescale it to the size of the image. These are my scale values. In the next step, we switch in edit mode, select the cube, and we insert some cuts. We take the loop cut, create one cut, and now open this window and increase the cuts to 10. Take now the move tool, go to the line viewport, and press X to transform both sides symmetrical. And now, edit the points. You have to do it like a rectangle tool to select the point in the foreground and in the background, and then you can switch the points. Alright, now we switch back into object mode and to viewport shading number 2, and now we bevel the edges. Go on the modifier tag and insert the bevel modifier. Here we change the value to 0.2 and 10. The next step, we also insert a subdivision surface and increase both values to 3. Perfect. Rename the layer all the time after creating a new object. Get a better overview later on. Alright, in the next step, we create the buttons. Go to the line view and add a cylinder. Rotate it in X by 90 degrees and rescale it to the size of the buttons. These are my scale values. In the next step, we use the simple deform. Here we use the bend deformer and we bend it by minus 30 degrees and in the Z-axis. And in the end, we also bevel here the edges, insert the bevel deformer, and here we use 0.2 and segments 10. And now we get the perfect button shape. In the next step, we use the array modifier to duplicate the buttons. We use a count of 4 and factor x is 0 and factor y is minus 1.56. In the next step, we copy buttons middle, bring it to the side, Open the simple deform and we change here to taper and we take a value of 0.3. Here we change to axis X, make the array modifier invisible, rotate the whole button until it fits. Press now Shift A, apply the rotation, delete the old array modifier and create a new one. Here we change count again to 4, 0x out, and we use for z minus 1.35. Now we also put a check mark and a constant offset, and here we choose a value of minus 0.1. Alright, that looks good. In the next step we use the mirror tool. Under mirror object, we use our body, and now we also have the buttons on the other side. In the next step, we go to viewport shading number 2, and we go to the edit mode. Because the buttons are not straight now, go in the area selection, select the area on the top, and now take the rotation tool and rotate it until it's straight. And it's automatically generated to all other buttons. Alright, switch now back in the object mode. Go back to viewport shading 1. And now we create the big button here. For this, copy and paste buttons middle. Bring it to the right position, delete the array modifier and rescale it with the scale tool. Under simple deform we change to taper to Y and we change the value to 0.65. And now we have our perfect button. Here we also have to straighten up the button again. Select the top and rotate it until it's straight. Perfect. Go back in the object mode to viewport 1 and now we create our display. Add the cube, rescale it to the size of the image. These are my scale values. Don't forget to rename it, and now we bevel here the edges with the bevel tool. Here we change to 0.2 and 10. Go back to viewport 1. We go now to the edit mode, take the loop cut and insert 5 cuts. Take now again the move tool, go to the point selection, transform X symmetrical, and now you can move the points, and don't forget, use the tool as a rectangle to get the right shape of the display. Alright, in the next step, we take both points on both sides and bring it to the good position. And now we can also use this line here to make the edges rougher. That looks good. Okay, so go now back to the object mode. Now we will create the side button here on the left. For this, we need a cube. We scale it to 0.15 in all axes. Go now back to the edit mode and bring the points to the edges of the button to get the shape. Take now the loop cut tool, create here one cut and increase it to 4. And now also edit the points to the right shape. So take the move tool and use it as a rectangle to select all points on both sides. Alright, switch now back to the object mode. Now we apply again the bevel modifier 0.2 and segments 10 and also a subdivision surface. Here we choose 2 for both values. In the next step we use the mirror tool. Under mirror object insert the Nokia body and now it's here perfect on the other side. Now we can apply the modifier, go in the edit mode and transform the points until it fits. Alright, switch now back to the object mode and guys, we are almost ready. Alright, in the next step we create the frame, the silver frame here on the phone. For this we have to insert first a cube and rescale it. That looks good. Go now to the edit mode, go to the point selection on the top, take the move tool, use it as a rectangle and press E on the keyboard to extrude the cube. Then use the move tool again as a rectangle and move the points to the right position. Then select again both points, extrude it with the E key and transform the points to the right position. You have to repeat it a couple of times and it's really simple, guys. In the end, here you can also use the rotation tool to rotate it to make the whole process a little bit easier. Extrude it, select the points, and transform it. Do the whole process until here to the top of the center, and in the end we use the mirror tool to fix the other side. Okay, we are ready, guys. Go now back to the object mode. Go here to the viewport shading number 2. Now we insert a subdivision surface and increase it by 5 in both. Right, now we change the scale value y to 0.1, and we don't need so many subdivisions. Change it to 2, both values, and then shade it smooth. And now we use the mirror tool, add in mirror object the body, and under merge increase the value. Perfect. Alright, in the next step we also change again the scale value to 0.05 in y, and now it looks good. Do you want the whole project file?
You can have it.
With over 70 other files that we have already created together, guys. You can find them on my Patreon, link is in the caption. Alright, now we make some beauty surgeries. First, select the body, go in the edit mode, line selection, and select here these points to make the edges better. Now you can also insert a loop cut here in the center. Take now the move tool and move it here to the top. Alright, now it looks good. Go now back to the object mode, select the frame, apply the mirror deformer. Now we go in the edit mode, select the points, move it here in the middle, select also these points, and move it until you don't see the overlapping point anymore. Alright, go now back in the object mode. Now it looks good. Perfect. Alright, in the next step, we create the speaker here on the top. For this, we need a cylinder, rescale it in all axes to 0.02, and rotate it in X by 90 degrees. Bring it now to the top. Now we use the array modifier, and we increase the count to 5. Factor X is 0, and Y is minus 2.4. Perfect. So in the next step, we have to remesh our body from the Nokia phone. So important, save the file, go to viewport shading 2, select body, apply all modifiers, and now we take remesh. Here we use a value of 0.06, and we put a check mark under shade smooth. The next step, we create here on the top the hole. For this, we need a cube, rescale it. These are my scale values. Take now a subdivision surface, increase both values to 3, select now the body, and take the boolean tool. If you don't find it here, go under edit, preferences, and search for boolean, and put a check mark, refresh it, and then you can find it under the modifiers. Alright, here, insert now the hole, and make it invisible. Perfect. So in the next step, we create the Nokia logo. For this, I have already created for us a SVG file. You can find it on my Patreon. Go under File, Import, and SVG. Rotate it in X by 90 degrees, and in Z by 180 degrees. Press now with the right mouse button on it, and set origin to center of mass. Take now viewport shading 1, bring it to the right position, take the scale tool, and scale it until it fits. Go now under the data tag, then under geometry, and extrude it by 0.01. Alright, go now to viewport shading number 2, duplicate the logo, and now we go under depth, and here we choose a value of 0.002 to create a small frame around it, and bring it a little bit behind the main logo. Alright, that looks good. So, now we select everything, and we shade it smooth to get perfect shapes. Alright, in the next step, we select also here the buttons, rotate it a little bit until it fits, and bring it to the right position. So in the next step, we take the display, duplicate it. Now we take body, here we take again the boolean tool, insert the duplicate display and make it invisible. Make the main display a little bit smaller with the scale tool. Alright, and as you can see, the frame is also not right. Select it and insert a simple deform. Take bend it by minus 40 in Z. And add a second simple deform. Take bend it by minus 15 in X. Alright, that looks good. Oh, in the next step, we also take the display, and here we take also a simple deform. Take bend, and take axis Z. Take a value of minus 10, bring it to the right position, and also rescale it to the original size. Alright, that looks good. Here we also insert a subdivision surface to the display and increase it to 3 in both values. Perfect. Alright guys, we are almost ready. We only need the letters and the numbers for the keyboard. So first, the numbers. Add the text, rotate it in X by 90 degrees and by Z by 180. Go to viewport number 2. Now go in the edit mode, write a 1, go back in the object mode, bring it to the front, and now you can change here under this data tag the font however you want. Here you can insert the font. I use a really simple one where the one looks similar to the one of the Nokia phone. It's a Bahnschrift regular. I will also link you the font in the caption. And on the size, you can rescale it. Here we use a value of 0.110. That looks good. This sign I also made with the keyboard with a O, underline O. You can change then the position, and other signs here on the phone you find also on your computer keyboard. So we can make also the other examples. Copy the text, and now we make the letters. Go to the edit mode, write A, B, C. Go now back to the object.
So this render engine is called The first thing you want to do is hit F12 on your keyboard. This will render out. Looks quite pixelated, to be fair. 1 second. The way to fix this is to go into select your thingamabob, and in render change this number down here to 4. Hit F12 and the pixelation should disappear. Yeah, nice. I'm going to go up here to the compositing tab, click use nodes, and you must have seen this again on some other animation on some other videos, so don't bother if you really know how to do this. I'm going to add a viewer node, not split mirror, and I'm going to add some glare, and plug this image into image, so now we can kind of see what's going on. And I quite like that, but to be fair, if you put it to high, the glare becomes a bit less prominent. In a second, it will become less prominent. I quite like that. I think I might leave it like that. So the next and the final thing is rendering out our animation. If you're doing this in Eevee, then these are the steps you need to follow. Double check your bloom is the way you like it, and all of those things there. But if you're happy with that, then make sure you've got 1920 by 1920. Out here, make sure you're not in the temp folder. Create a new folder. So I'm just going to go on to desktop. COVID vaccine, and in here, this is what you want to call your animation. So I'm going to call it intranetgirl 19. Accept. Over here, change PNG to FFmpeg, right, FFmpeg video. Under encoding, change your transfer to MPEG-4 or QuickTime or AVI. I think those three are okay, but I always go for MPEG-4, H.264, and change medium to perceptually lossless. Yeah. So that's perfect. So now it's just going to render out in its wonderful glory. So once it's rendered out, you can just play the animation. And this is what we've got. I hope this was useful. I know I went into quite extensive detail in some parts. Okay, I don't think I'll be making many videos this long, but I just knew I had to make something for all the Blender fetuses out there that, you know, are just doing this stuff for the first time and just needed something extensive, detailed, and just very, like, you know, honing in on the basics of what you need to get down. So if you like this kind of longer style,
Create an object with enough subdivisions around the thing that you want to vacuum pack. Select a rim of vertices. Add the vertices to a vertex group.
ছুটির দিন মানে আমাদের আইসক্রিম ডে, কিন্তু মনে হচ্ছিল আমাদের আনন্দের মুহূর্তগুলো আর থাকবে না। ঠান্ডা বা
Hello and welcome to part 2 of my tutorial where I show you how to wrap things in plastic, where in part 1 we have created this setup where we are using shrink wrap modifier and we can control the amount of wrapping on our object with this slider. And in part 2, instead of using the shrink wrap modifier, I want to use a cloth simulation, which is not gonna give us the exact same result, but
You're watching a toothbrush play Billie Eilish. But did you know there's a YouTube?
In today's Blender tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys step by step how to vacuum pack stuff like a pro in Blender. So we're going to be making this little animation that you can see over here on the screen, and here you can see the blend file. It's really simple. We're doing some cool cloth simulation to kind of do this sort of cool looking shrink wrap that goes around some text. And I'll show you what the text looks like quickly. And we're going to be adding some random colors to the text in our nodes using the object info node. It's really simple. So yeah, I'll be uploading the final result that you can see here, the animation, which we'll be making today. I will upload that blend file to my Patreon as well. So those of you who are on Patreon will be getting that. If you want to find out more, you can check that out in the description. Yeah, so let's jump into the tutorial making shrink wrapped objects in Blender like a pro. Okay, so let's jump into Blender. I'll be using the 4.2 build of Blender at this time, and I'm just going to select all of the default objects and press delete. We're then going to go Shift A, and we're just going to go to our text option here and click on it. And to make things simpler, you just go into your top orthographic view. And to edit text in Blender, it's really simple. You just go over here into edit mode, and then you can just type in your keyboard like you would in like the search browser. So I'm just going to backspace, and I'm going to type in vacuum. And then we're going to go over here to our data properties for our text, and we're going to go over here to font, and then we're going to go here to regular and click on this file here. And we're going to go here to fonts, and you should be able to go here and see all sorts of options. Now I'm going to go capitals will work best. So we're then going to go back into object mode to use top or complete give that a strength of 100 and click new, and it's just called double tap R with that empty selected and just rotate it and get ourselves a pose. Let's press N to bring up, and we're going to search and type an object. Let's get to object info and then plug the random into the base color. Now what we can do is we can go Shift A search and get a color ramp, place it over here and change it from linear to constant. And now what you can do, you can drag your sliders around and you can give them color. So I grab this one here, make it blue. You can click plus to add in more colors. You kind of get the idea. I'm not going to like cover this in incredible detail because I think it's pretty easy to understand. You can slide these around until you kind of get different distributions, right? Add your own colors, make it your own. But I'm also going to come here to the roughness and just drag that down a bit as well. And there we have a simple, cute looking kind of text material. So let's go back to our layout. We're going to go Alt H to hide to bring back the shrink wrap. And let's grab everything like the background, the cameras, and the lights. Press M and go New Collection and call it Stage. And go Create. So now at least we can turn off the stage over here so we don't see it. And with our main collection here, we're going to go Shift A and just add in a empty. And let's go for cube. And then let's select our shrink wrap and our text, all of it. And holding in Shift, select the empty and go Control P. And let's go Object, Keep Transform. And then let's go to our end frame value here and make it 100. And in our front view, we're just going to double tap R with that empty selected and just rotate it and get ourselves a pose like this.